They travel at speeds pushing 200 miles per hour. The very best drivers in the world putting their lives on the line every week. It's time to get the lowdown on this week's contenders, plus a look at the key driver matchups. Right now on Gaughan Racin.
And welcome in, everybody, to Gaughan Racin. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan, and not Mr. Motley, the usual Racin studio today. We are still in the lovely South Point.
Right.
We are still open, but due to sports being back on now, Racin is getting busier and busier, which is great for the boys. And studio time gets tough, man. That's the good news.
And we've been moving our set around a few times before we even did the show. We thought we were going to be behind a desk, thus.
Hey, listen, I'm not afraid to show off my sexy legs, okay? And I have a read later today that might come in involve these sexy legs. I'm just saying. But we
should have gotten pedicures before the show, Brendan.
So, once again, professionals right here, me and him. We're in the Grandview Lounge on the other corner of the South Point looking at the beautiful race book and, of course, Kentucky Derby weekend this weekend, so kind of apropos that we're looking into the race book. But, Jeff, we're not here to talk about the Derby. We're not here to talk about our sexy legs. We are here to talk about, let's close off Daytona. You know I want to close out Daytona.
Well, I know you closed out your career at Daytona. Can we give a thumbs down to Martin Truex Jr. because you might have finished third or had a chance to win, but
him or Chris Buescher, I don't know who I'm more mad at,
okay.
But no, I mean, look, it was exciting, Jeff. I mean, come on, we've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this a long time. We know this is my last race, Daytona. I came out of turn 4, Motley, and I pushed the Chevys. I pushed both the Chevys. I did my manufacturer duty. I hooked up with Byron and Elliott. I hit him on the back straightaway, pushed him to the lead, hit him again 3 and 4, got him, shot him out in front of me, and they pulled up, and all I see in front of me is no race cars and a checkered flag coming to, as
Daytona. Checkered flag is waving. Yeah.
As my friend Dave Moody always tells me, I've won the Daytona 498 a lot of times. But so, I mean, I was looking at checkered flag, and I got to tell you, there was a second that I went, wreck each other, boys. Wreck each other. Take it, go race for it, Chase. Go get him.
It just cracks me up that you're running 200 miles per hour coming off turn 4 at Daytona, and your mind is thinking, wreck each other.
Hey, listen, the way I looked at it, I was on the bottom, and I'm like, hey, they wreck each other. There are going to be a whole lot of problems in that middle and upper groove, and 60 deuce is going to run itself to a victory. And I will tell you this again. Somebody asked me this week, had I won that race, would I be at Talladega? And the safe answer is no, I would not have.
Oh, I don't blame you. You can't go out any higher than that.
But
it would have been one of the biggest upsets in the history of NASCAR.
Well, I don't know about it. Our team is so small.
Well, in today's world. I mean,
yes.
I mean, maybe go back when Derek Cope won the Daytona 500 when Earnhart's car ran over
but
Bell housing. But
you talk about what the Beard Oil team is. One car, crew chief only working on it. It's way bigger than Phoenix Racing with Brad Keselowski, David Reagan with Front Row. We are a mighty small team.
And you overcame 2 speeding penalties to do it.
I did overcome 2 speeding penalties. And Darren, I love you. To my crew chief, just side note. Darren, I love you. Sorry.
You've had more speeding penalties on the racetrack at Daytona than you had on I-15, I think.
NHP, love you, baby. Me and NHP. But the race itself, a lot of twists and turns. Race was a great race from what it looked like, but the big glaring thing, no playoffs.
No playoffs for Jimmy Johnson. It was the ultimate high and low for Hendrick Motorsports. William Byron gets his first career win, locks himself into the playoffs by winning the race. At the same time, Jimmy Johnson gets caught up through, an accident was not of his own making. And honestly, it's hard to blame anybody, but that whole thing really started when William Byron took it 4 wide and tried to fit himself between 2 cars, and it really jumbled everything up.
Worked for him.
It worked for William
you
Byron.
Work for
he
your
won the race.
What,
and look,
what do you work for?
It was 3 to go, 4 laps to go. So, no, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
I'm just saying the irony in it is that, I mean, really it was probably Byron's move that I'm not saying he caused it.
No, but
was
triggered
probably the trigger to what
move,
happened behind him. So he ends up winning the race, and his teammate, 7-time champion last season, and he ends up, and I tell you got to give Jimmy Johnson credit. I mean, he was so classy after the race.
But can you name a time that Jimmy's really not been classy?
No, that's a good point. He always has. You're exactly right.
It's also always been easy to be classy when you're kicking everybody's butt winning championships. But, Jimmy has always been a classy guy. Went over, gave Chad a high five, and William a high five, gave great interviews. And
him going to victory lane, I thought, showed he just
but
another.
But that's what Jimmy is about. But the main thing I noticed that there is one true thing here. Jimmy spotted them 2 races.
True. He got disqualified, I believe, at Charlotte, and then he had
COVID.
He missed a race for COVID.
So
he would have been in, and Matt DiBenedetto would be sitting at home right now.
Totally different story had it changed differently. But in the end, William Byron in the playoffs, Jimmy Johnson out of the playoffs. I still think that Jimmy is not going to be irrelevant in these playoff races. I think he is more motivated probably now than he was before about winning a race and going out as a winner. So as a bettor, I actually might even be higher again. Remember what Jimmy did at Darlington the first race back? He took himself out leading the race.
Correct. And I think the other race that's going to be a real factor where Jimmy's going to play in is if those 3 Hendrick cars, and it's going to be a long stretch for Byron and Bowman to even advance past the first round because they don't have a lot of playoff points. But Talladega is the middle race of the second round. And if there are 3 Hendrick cars in it, I mean, Jimmy really is then going to have a responsibility to his teammates more than ever. And I think sometimes that could work to a team's advantage to have one guy who really has nothing to lose out there. So
because if he wins, he stops anybody else from getting locked in, and he also is a great.
And if he gets in line behind his teammates, then he's a great teammate.
He's a great teammate.
So he's in a no-lose situation,
and that's what happened.
Takes him out.
That's what happened at the end of this race. Chase Elliott did not need to win this race. Chase Elliott hooked up with William Byron, hooked up with his teammate, and he was locked to him. Had that been 2 other race teams or 2 other drivers, I think I might have had a chance to win coming off of 4. But they stayed, they played nice to the finish. Another great finish on a super speedway for Bubba Wallace.
Oh, I mean, Bubba had a chance to win there at the end. He was right in the mix. He got a top 10 out of it.
Chris Buescher, another great race for Chris Buescher. A lot of guys on these super speedways. You say crapshoot, but I look at those finishes, and you go, hey.
We start seeing the same names. And William Byron was a guy that always seemed to be caught up in some kind of an accident. Right. So for William Byron to win, it was a real breakthrough. That
was the anomaly stat, was the William Byron. But Denny Hamlin, top 3. He won Daytona 500 this year. Been so strong. Denny is up there again. You saw the Fords run the strategy.
Well, one interesting thing you and I talked about last week on the show is how well Denny had always been able to navigate the minefields of those crashes at Daytona and Talladega, but how Kevin Harvick never seems to be able to miss them. And sure enough, Harvick got caught up in one again this time, which is part of the reason why this weekend at Darlington, Harvick's going to be starting about 8th, 9th, 10th in the field because of the finish from last week. So it's amazing to me, and even you, I mean, you have managed to not be in, when you've raced there.
I'm in the last one. I'm always in the last one.
If you're in the last one because you're going for the checkered flag at the end, and that's different. But, I mean, there's certain drivers who seem to have a knack for missing these things. I don't know if it's you guys see them coming or you're lucky or a little bit of both.
But that's why I tell you it's not just a straight crapshoot at these places. We have one more of these left this season for the bettors. Look and study. You will see names that are always there. We still get in wrecks. I got flipped at Talladega last year.
You were leading the race.
I was leading the race,
and then Kurt Busch, I think, had an issue, and
he was the one underneath me when I flipped.
Well, no, but you had a crash with Kurt back in the back of the field a year or so ago.
But I mean but they're always at the end of the races. So that's when you get into that. That's the time if you're going to get into it. You want to watch those. It's not a straight crapshoot like you say. Like you love to give it out to. Look at those finishes. Look at those guys. Look at what they've done. And there is money to be made there. Hell, I almost won my 25-1 on me for the top 3. Like you said, I saw 3rd place. I was right there. But it's as far as last week's though, William Byron was a 28-1 to win that race.
7-1 just to get a top 3.
7-1 for the top 3. So a lot of return there. He also won his group, and he was a 260, I think it was, on the group to win. So William Byron returned some money. We knew Denny Hamlin. He was a plus 190 for the top 3. He got it. Chase Elliott was a plus 250. They were pretty much chalk on that part.
There.
But great race, great run. Playoffs are set. Let's talk a little playoff points though, Mr. Motley. And
I think the one thing that we talked about leading up was what an advantage we were going to see Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin have. I mean, they literally could really have major problems in the first stage, the first round of the playoffs, and they're most likely going to advance. I mean, Kevin Harvick, he's 57 points ahead of Matt DiBenedetto, and he's 52
above the cut
line. And Denny Hamlin is 42 above the cut line. Not to mention that all these bonus points they've got, these 57 and 47 bonus points, they get to carry those into the next round in addition to whatever they happen to earn during these next 3 races. So that's a lot of points they're going to be
They have the advantage. There is going to be a hell of a battle for those last the last couple spots. Right now, you've got the cut line is at 2,005 points with Cole Custer. He's tied with Eric Almirola, 1 point behind Clint Boyer, 1 point behind that Kyle Busch, which we all expect Kyle Busch. Now, we always talk about in betting, Jeff, timing is everything, right? In life and in betting, timing is everything. So, Kyle Busch, right now to win the championship, 12-1.
He probably opened the season at 4-1, right?
Somewhere, I would not. You know what? We didn't get that number. We need to pull that up. But I'm betting you that he was at least 4 or 650 to 1 to win the championship. He's 12-1 right now, and he is 14th in points.
Which is amazing how many guys are ahead of him right now in the points that
you wouldn't expect. That have they actually had less points than him to get in there, but they won. And their odds, look at Austin Dillon, 300-1. Cole Custer, 300-1.
But Ryan Blaney, 20-1. Now, if you want a long shot guy, because every place we go, Ryan Blaney has run well this year.
He just hasn't been able to seal it, but he's run well.
Right, like Harvick is the closer.
Oh, yeah.
Blaney is the opener. And if Blaney can ever get from opener to closer, I mean, it's scary, I think, what he could do out there.
There's some guys that have some decent numbers next to him. I mean, Martin Truex is plus 800 still, where we're talking Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin plus 200, plus 300. So, Paul, I mean, that's Jeff, plus 200 to win the championship.
Well, you know a guy on here, and I'm really gonna watch him this week at Darlington. Joey Logano. Remember when Joey won the championship 2 years ago?
He was nowhere near the favorite. He wasn't even talked about it. We didn't expect him to make the Final Four, and he won Martinsville to get there.
Not only, though, did he win Martinsville to get there, though, you have to remember, he had to make it to the Final 8 to get to still be in it at Martinsville. Joey Logano's team, when the playoffs started, they started gaining momentum. And I tell you, he has run better. Now, he got caught up a little bit last week, which can happen at Daytona, but we've seen him run better the last few weeks. At Dover, Michigan, he ran much better. There's a team. I'm not calling them to win the championship right now, but that's somebody that's got a double digit.
Look, there's two other teams that we think, that I think all four are open, but with the points, yes, Denny and Kevin are pretty well set there. But you're mentioning Joey, and I'm going to mention Brad Keselowski at 12-1. Brad is the guy that you said, those wins were kind of, he was there when it mattered. He is always there when it matters. He's 12-1. He's right now, he's 24 points ahead of the cut line. He could have a bad race and still point his way to the next round. Brad Keselowski, 12-1 is a great number.
And I think the other thing
but Kyle Busch, 12-1. I'm sorry. Kyle Busch, 12-1 in the championship.
Well, and I think one thing that's really important to look at, too, is these three races in the first round of the playoffs. We've got Darlington, we've got Richmond, we've got Bristol. We don't have racetracks where you're really going to expect to see Austin Dillon or Cole Custer pull an upset. Now, I know Cole Custer.
No, I don't expect. But you know who I do expect to pull one, maybe? And he's right now 100-1.
De Benedetto. At Bristol, certainly he will be in the mix. I think Bristol's also got to be a racetrack that both of the Busch brothers have got to look at and say, this is an opportunity. But, for example, I don't see a Denny or Harvick having any issues in this first round because they're not – look, could they blow an engine on the first lap and finish 40th? Yes, but they're not going to do that 3 weeks in a row. And these guys have been so good, and these racetracks they're going to – they're going in as a favorite. I mean, in fact, we've had two races at Darlington already this year. Harvick won one, Denny won one. Now, you might say Chase Elliott could have won one, but remember Kyle Busch got into the back of Chase Elliott and wrecked him in the race, and we remember how that went down. But I just think that right now you're kind of looking at the fact that these guys, these are their racetracks.
Look, Kyle Busch at Bristol, come on. And we've talked about how bad, how we've been, look, I've been fading Kyle all season. We've talked about that. It's not late in the season. But Kyle Busch during the All-Star race at Bristol, it was only a 15-lap shootout at the end. Kyle Busch was coming.
He was the fastest car on the racetrack.
Yes.
And Chase Elliott knew it, too.
Kyle Busch can definitely get there and win this. Matt DiBenedetto can surprise somebody and lock that round. Eric Almirola has faded really bad last half of the season so far. Right now, William Byron peaking at the right time. Alex Bowman been okay. Chase Elliott been the best Chevy most of the time. So some interesting stuff, but I'm just going to say locked and lasered in on if you want value, if you want to talk about a guy whose number is only going to go down, that's Kyle Busch.
I agree.
He's 12-1. That number is going to shrink rapidly as these rounds get closer.
Well, let me put you on the spot for a second. Before we start these playoffs, this first round, which four guys are going to go home after we leave Bristol?
I mean, if you look at the easy money and go off the odds, it's Austin and Cole, and Matt DiBenedetto are the least favorite. I think, judging on those racetracks, I think Clint Boyer's going to struggle. I think Clint is going to have to really show us something.
And his contract is up, and
he's
there's
fighting
been no
for
renewal, and he's kind of fighting for a job, and he's got Chase Briscoe over there breathing down his neck. You got a Kyle Larson out there that who knows what's going to happen.
Everybody's looking at that. So Clint Boyer's on the hot seat. He needs to win one of these races. He can. So I think Clint needs to win. I think Cole Custer needs to continue to show that. And I honestly think that William Byron has not showed me enough to continue that, but I think that Austin Dillon gets through.
Wow. See, I agree with you on Byron, but I'm going Byron, Dillon, Custer, Boyer are the four that I say miss it.
It's going to be close.
So you think Dillon gets in, and who doesn't get in?
I think it's going to be like a Byron is not going to get in, and Eric Almirola, if he continues to slide, as the ones that slide.
I think Alex Bowman. I mean, look, he ran well at Darlington earlier in the early races we ran there. Ran well last year. He's a guy who's going to run well, but Alex Bowman hasn't really shown a lot down the stretch.
Not lately. Well, we do move on to Darlington now. We can get to Darlington a little bit. And before we get to the odds to win the race that we jump into, one of the things we talk about a lot with us on Argonne Racing, with JVT when we go on with him, is I talk a lot about history, Jeff. And normally you have history from last season, maybe a race that races twice in one season. You get to look at that. This is the first time in NASCAR, at least in modern era history, this is the third race this year for the Cup Series at this racetrack.
It's a third race, and obviously no shocker that we saw Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick win the first two. We saw Chase Elliott be really, really strong in the first two.
And we also saw Jimmy Johnson.
Who was
came
leading
out really
in
strong.
Stage 1 and crashed out. Kyle Busch.
Kyle
Busch was running, and when
that
he and Chase Elliott got together, Kyle
yeah.
Busch was running well. Now, a little bit different coming up on this race. This is the Southern 500. If you'll remember, both of those races were 300 milers. They shortened those races up. So now we got a 500-mile race. We know it's going to be hot in South Carolina this weekend. It always is around Labor Day weekend. I know the race starts a little bit later in the day. It's a 6 p.m. start, I think, local time there in South Carolina. But, those last 100 miles, as you know, it takes a toll on the driver. It really takes a toll on the car, the engine builders. We don't run a lot of 500-mile races anymore
we haven't lately, but still, here's my thing. The attrition of the cars has kind of gone by the wayside as far as engines and stuff. But what the attrition that happens on the car there is how many Darlington stripes have you put on it, and how many times can you hit that ball joint and it hold up?
Well, that and tires.
And tires. Look, I think the allotment is like 15 tires.
You run 5 laps on a set of tires, and you get a caution. You come in and change again at Darlington.
Hell, we used to try to change tires.
Going the way off of pit road? We pit on one end of pit road.
In qualifying, we used to see if we could get away with changing tires on pit road after pushing out to it. I mean, tires there are a premium.
Maybe no track on the circuit. On the circuit. The Rockingham used to be similar when Rockingham was
on the circuit.
But it's not on the circuit.
And Darlington are folks at home. But
it's a tire shredder.
But you actually have now, even though it's going to be a less miles, you have a lot of data now that you can digest. You can go to those sites we talk about, Racing References, look at how everybody ran, and the thing that I always tell everybody is, yes, look at who maybe didn't finish well but you knew ran well. Jimmy Johnson included in that, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch included in that. Look at those guys, but I don't see now, we're talking right when we came back from COVID, the teams have grown, but still, Darlington is a place where history repeats itself.
Well, that's true. And I think people have to also understand about Darlington is if you really want a frame of reference, all you really can look at are those Darlington races that we ran back in, was it like May or June?
May,
maybe
whatever.
Mid-May when we returned started running the races, because there's really no other track on the circuit like Darlington. I mean, yes, it's high banked, but it's an egg-shaped track. One turn is bigger than the other. It's only 1.3 miles.
Darlington is
right. It's not Charlotte, Texas, Vegas, Atlanta. It's nothing like that.
Darlington is its own animal, and it's so, Jeff, as a driver, you love Darlington, but at the same time, you cringe and go, oh, man, this place can chew you up and spit you out in a heartbeat.
I remember back in the days before when the start-finish line was on the
flip-flop.
When it was flip-flopped. And I went down there, and this was shows how old I am. This was like early to mid-'90s or whatever. And Benny Parsons was working for ESPN. And Benny Parsons gave me a ride around the track in the pace car.
Yeah.
and we would come off what was then turn 4 that's now turn 2, and he explained to me how because of the banking and the roof of the car, he said you can't even see the back straightaway until you're actually on the back straightaway. He says you're guessing at that turn every time.
Yeah, no, you can't see and you lift. You go into turn 1, you actually barely lift, then you drive and throttle uphill till you get close to the wall. You lift again, you turn, and you can't see the exit really still to this day. You just see the gate. There's an old gate there. You can kind of see that's where it straightens out. But a lot of problems there. So it's a fun place. A lot of history for bettors to go off of, to look at, to say, here's what it is. And the main one I looked at that I saw, and we were talking about it before the show, 10 races, last 10 races at Darlington. Kevin Harvick. Average finish of 5.0, 9 top 10s. 9 top 10s. Ferris Bueller, 9 times.
There's a dark horse guy that we're going to talk about a little bit, too. He's not in the playoffs.
Nope.
Eric Jones.
Fighting for his life.
He's a defending winner of this race, the Southern 500 last year.
5 races.
Go ahead, stat boy.
5 top 10s.
It's amazing. Eric Jones has been amazing at Darlington. I mean, I think the guy, if you're going to look for a dark horse, Eric Jones is going to be a guy to look for as a dark horse.
And Eric Jones, to win this race, and we'll give a little foreshadowing here, Eric Jones is 20-1 to win this race. He won it last year. This race, the Southern 500, the famous Southern 500, was won by Eric Jones. He's got an average finish of 5.4 in his only 5 races.
And we talked off air. I'm concerned about how much of the Gibbs people are going to be behind him. But you disagree with me on that. But I will.
Here's why I disagree. This isn't 20 years ago when Jack Roush used to have like one good team, and that team got the good stuff, and he'd sprinkle it around to the sponsor that needed it, and then the next guy would get it, and Johnny Benson get the good stuff, and then
Mark Martin
was in there, yeah. And it's not those days anymore. This is totally different world of NASCAR. Gibbs don't have any bad equipment, but Eric Jones is going to be a threat. All right, we've done our recap, done the championship. When we return, we're going to talk odds to win Darlington in a moment on Gone Racing.
Welcome back to our weekly NASCAR show, live from the Sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gone Racing.
And just a reminder, if you missed anything from today's show, you can download the Gone Racing podcast today. Not only is it free, but you can download and listen to the show before it airs here on VSiN. The new Gone Racing podcast is available via Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, and Stitcher, and always, of course, at vsin.com/podcasts. I feel bad to say this to the Stitcher folks, but I think I need to call my 9-year-old son and teach me.
Stitcher, send us a tutorial. We don't know how to do it.
We love you.
We love you.
Thanks for being here with VSiN. But, yeah, I need my 9-year-old to teach me. Well, I think I need my 9-year-old to teach me.
I got a lot of apps on my phone. Don't have that one. I guess I should.
We got to get it. Got to get it. Got to know what it is so we can talk about our lovely podcast on Stitcher.
Which we do talk about it on other platforms.
Yes. So, welcome everybody back. Brendan Gaughan here, Jeff Motley, South Point Casino, not the usual confines, talking Southern 500 in Darlington. One of my favorite sponsors, the Bojangles Southern 500.
I'm upset. We need a Bojangles.
Listen, if there's anybody that can use some Bojangles.
I don't think either one of us need to be eating Bojangles.
Whoa.
But I love me some, like a country ham biscuit and the bow rounds. See, people, if you're in Las Vegas,
you don't know what a bow round is.
Out west, you don't know what it is. But if you're anywhere.
That other chicken place that came out west? No.
If you're
Bojangles.
East of the Mississippi and south of Maryland, you know what Bojangles is.
Love me some Bojangles.
Now, I'm a breakfast guy.
Spicy chicken biscuit.
All right. I'm with the breakfast. I don't get as much for the fried chicken, but
spicy chicken biscuit.
I like
the fries
the
they got.
Okay. There's one on the way to Bristol Motor Speedway when you drive from Johnson City. Like it was but it was like an every morning thing if I go back there, I have to stop
right outside my house in Birkdale.
It's the same place where they take pictures of your license plates for speeding and mail you the ticket.
I've had a few pictures of those. So let's start off with Southern 500 odds to win. Go figure, Mr. Motley. We start off with usual suspects, and the odds makers can't differentiate between the two. Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, your co-favorites at plus 300.
It's impossible to differentiate between the two.
You can't.
I mean, it's really – I feel like we should have the Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch finish between these two guys,
awesome.
side by side, door to door, banging each other.
Running each other into the wall, just saying, okay, let's go at it.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost saying that everybody else is racing for third place.
Well, Martin Truex Jr. is a plus 800, but then after that, 3 guys in the single digits, then you get right to the doubles. Chase Elliott, 10-1, Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski, 11-1. Guys, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski? I mean, Kyle Busch, a double digit on Kyle Busch.
Yeah, but I think also a double digit on Chase Elliott, who really had one of the best cars there when we were there earlier when we first came back from the pandemic. Of course, Kyle Busch ran into him, spun him out, crashed him out. I think Chase was not real happy about it, if I recall, but who would be happy about getting spun out?
Joey Logano, 16, Ryan Blaney, and Eric Jones, 20-1. The aforementioned in the first segment, Eric Jones, 20-1.
Defending race winner. I think
battling for his life, battling for his career.
Right. He's he's got his hand up to Tony Stewart. Hey, I'm over here. Rick Hendrick. Hey guys, I'm over here. You guys might have open. I know one of you's got an open seat. One of you might have an open seat.
Kurt Busch, 25. Eric Almirola, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson, all at 28-1. And let's not forget about Jimmy on that. Jimmy was so strong first stage. Jimmy, I've said it off the air, screwed the pooch. And he said it. He messed up in that first stage, dominated stage 1. Wonder what he could have done without it. Was good in the second race there, but that first race was really good. William Byron, 40. Clint Boyer, Matt DiBenedetto, and Tyler Reddick all at 50. Austin Dillon, Christopher Bell at 80-1. Cole Custer is 100-1 in the triple digits. Motley, the second page. I struggle to say Matt Kenseth. I'm always going to tee you up the Matt Kenseth. 100-1. He's got to win in the nine races of the last 10 he's raced in. He's got to win in there.
I don't want to hear what he's done in the past. Look, Matt, if you're listening, we love you. We love you.
I do love you,
Matt.
Matt is I'm rooting for the old guys.
And let me tell you something. Matt is one of my favorite guys we ever had. Matt won in Vegas before a few times back in the early days. Matt was a great champion. Was a champion. This deal with Ganassi, it just hasn't worked.
It looked so strong. He was so strong at Darlington when they came back.
He almost won the Brickyard 400, but something just hasn't clicked there. So I'm not going to bag on Matt Kenseth because I can't tell you how much I love Matt Kenseth. I like the guy, and he was always great for us here at the Speedway when we promoted things. So love Matt Kenseth, but it's just not working.
Don't see it.
I will say one thing about Jimmy. I think now that he's out of the playoffs, I think there's a checkers or wreckers mentality that he really should carry.
Why isn't there?
So.
Well, he's got nothing to lose now.
He's got nothing to lose. And he wants to get a win. He doesn't want to go the last 2.5 seasons of his career without a win.
No, I'm high on that 28-1. The second page still, Ryan Newman 150, Chris Buescher 250, Bubba Wallace 250. I just don't see anything like that happening on that side of it.
You're not going to have a race at Darlington where it's going to be a fuel mileage race. You're
going
to have to change tires. Tires are going to be the big thing and not running into the wall. So fuel mileage races, sometimes I can go those triple-digit odds. Although
not here.
Cole Custer won at Kentucky without fuel mileage.
Nope, so. and Austin Dillon won Texas. Without Tyler Reddick right there without fuel mileage, but
great restarts. Yeah.
But for me, if you're looking at big returns, I really, really like Eric Jones at 20. I like Jimmy Johnson at 28. But for me, I can't tell you bettors at home. I can't look at you and say, "Hey, guys, 300-1 on Denny or 300-1 on Kevin." I could tell you, put one unit on both, you'll win. You'll be up one unit at the end, and that's about the best I can give you.
I like your chances if you do that.
I mean, I think you'll end up plus one unit. They've been too strong this year.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got through odds to win the race. When we come back, we're going to do the DraftKings top 3, jump into those head-to-heads when we return here in just a moment on Gaughan Racing. Indeed helps you find the high-impact hire your business needs fast. You'll find lots of great candidates and no long-term contracts at Indeed.com/high-impact. All right, everybody, welcome back in. Brendan Gaughan, Jeff Motley, Gaughan Racing, talking. I have to make a quick adjustment. The two professionals that you have here
that are wearing shorts and flip-flops today.
trust us, we're professionals. This is the Cookout Southern 500.
We're professional at something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm professional.
Listen,
I was talking about Bojangles because I'm a professional at Bojangles, but now I'm not afraid of a Cookout milkshake.
Yeah.
I know you haven't been in the South in a while.
I've not been to a Cookout because I haven't lived in the South in a while. And so, Kerry Tharp, the commander, if you're listening,
Darlington,
apologize. We didn't get the press release.
We didn't get the memo. We didn't get the memo.
Bojangles anymore. So.
But Cookout, I love you too.
Yep,
when I lived in North Carolina racing for RCR, I had me a milkshake or 3. I'm not afraid of those. They got great milkshakes.
I like a good milkshake. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get right into the top 3s, DraftKings top 3s for the Cookout Southern 500 at Darlington Speedway.
Can we have a Cookout? Sounds really good about right now.
It does sound good.
Any kind of Cookout.
Listen, after this mistake, they might, please help us.
How many times have we said their name? I think they should be sponsoring our show now, right?
I don't think they're going to forgive us that much.
Okay.
Once again, going to the top threes. Now, for I think only the second time this season, Jeff, I remember, last year's we've had a lot of negative numbers in the top three.
Kyle Busch lived in the negative numbers last
for a
year,
whole year. Once again, though, they cannot differentiate between our leaders. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick, both at minus 118. I do not know how you get a minus 118. I've been doing this a long time. I don't.
That's just an odd number that.
At South Point, we ain't going to put no 118. Martin Truex Jr. plus 215, Chase Elliott plus 275, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski plus 300s, Joey Logano 400, Ryan Blaney and Eric Jones both at plus 500, Kurt Busch 600, Eric Almirola, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson 650, William Byron 900, Clint Boyer, Matt DiBenedetto, Tyler Reddick all at 11-1, Austin Dillon and Christopher Bell 20, Cole Custer 25-1, Matt Kenseth right there with you again. I'm going to throw you another lob on Matt Kenseth, 25-1, top three.
No more beating up on our good buddy Matt Kenseth. Because again, we like Matt, so I just don't want anybody to think I'm piling on here.
The problem is you look at I harp on stats, Jeff. How many times you heard me tell you, JVT, the listeners here at VSiN, stats. Look at history. Matt's history is there.
Agree, but that's like a football player. A running back runs for 1,000 yards 3 years in a row, and the next year he gets traded to the worst offensive line in the game, and he runs for 400 yards. Well, he might have been the same running back, but he wasn't behind the same offensive line.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying Matt Kenseth's car is not as good. Just something has not.
It hasn't. He didn't have the time to gel with it. He didn't have time
true.
to make
he had
changes.
No practice.
Yeah.
No qualifying.
With no practice qualifying,
the car.
that killed him.
That's all he could do.
Now, also, we've talked about no practice, and Kyle Busch, of course, the one that has screamed and yelled about no practice. Third race at Darlington this season. Granted, a long time ago, but third race.
Yeah, most everywhere now that Kyle Busch is going to be going the rest of the way is somewhere that he's already raced this year. So there's not a lot of excuses I think we can put in there. In fact, is there anywhere other than the Roval that they haven't raced that we're going to be going to? Richmond. We have not raced Richmond. So Richmond and the Roval I think are going to be the only two tracks we haven't raced on that we're going to be in the playoffs. So he definitely has some history. He's got some notes to go off of. You know, one thing I find interesting here, Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski are both plus 300 for a top three. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are plus 300 to win. I think there's a much better chance of Hamlin and Harvick winning than Keselowski or Kyle Busch getting the top three right now.
At least I feel more confident that I could bet two of those bets and possibly one of those guys will win for me. So I do like that. And I'm going to jump on the same number I jumped on for the win. Eric Jones plus 500. Reigning winner of this race. 5 races, 5 top 10s, average finish of 5.4. This young man right there, I think that is, for me, kind of a lock.
Well, he's a patient driver. And you've got to be patient at Darlington.
If you
just go out there like a bat out of hell, you're probably not going to be successful at Darlington. It's just the way you have to manage your tires, manage the car, stay off the wall, all the things you've got to do at Darlington. I know you drivers a lot of times and announcers like to say you've got to drive the racetrack. You race the racetrack, not the other competitors. Well, I've always kind of thought that was kind of BS most of the time. Not at Darlington. I completely understand it. I've talked to enough drivers. I've been around the sport long enough to know Darlington is a different beast and a different animal. You just got to hit your marks every lap and then let the chips fall where they may.
My first truck race there, I was faster than Robert Presley and Bobby Hamilton. I went to go buy him, and Shane Wilson came on the radio and screamed at me, "Don't even think about it." We went back from first, second, third to like 7th, 8th, 9th, and where'd we finish? First, second, and third. This is a place that don't care who goes by me, don't care how fast they go by me. Stay within your mind. Stay right there, and that's where Eric Jones has proven he's done well, and I'm going to jump on Jimmy Johnson at plus 650. Jimmy Johnson, with that win or nothing attitude right now, understands that he could play what has been his strong suit, which is patience, and I like those two long shot numbers there, 650 and 500 for a top three. I also am a little high on Matt DiBenedetto right there. He's done so well at this year at proving what a smart race car driver he is.
He is, and he manages his car well. I think he's definitely 11-1. I was probably kind of hoping he would pop into the 15 to 16-1.
15 is what I was hoping for.
11-1, but then all three of the 50-1s to win the race are coming in 11-1 for top three. So I just don't know if I like the odds as much on some of the top threes.
Let's go to head-to-heads because there is some fun with the head-to-heads today, Jeff. A lot of minus 110s, a few of them. Of course, Kevin and Denny are just going to be minus 110.
It's fun if you're a Martin Truex Jr. better.
Well, and that was the first place I was going, which is Martin Truex Jr. is plus 140 to Kevin Harvick, and he's plus 140 to Denny Hamlin, both of them minus 160.
But he is the third favorite to win the race.
Well, and that's where I'm going now with you look at the stats. We've talked about Denny and Kevin, their stats mirror. Martin Truex Jr., 10 races, 6 top 10s. He's, he 10.4 average finish. He's right there.
But if I'm going to bet Martin Truex Jr., I'd rather bet him plus 800 to win the race to beat Denny and Kevin.
If he's going to beat
just
them,
a plus 140
he
to
probably
beat
wins
one
the
of them
race.
head-to-head. I agree with you because I
get that.
I think we know who the two favorites are to win this race. We know who we're going to be surprised if one of those two guys doesn't win the race. But there's still, in my mind, there's probably still only 3 or 4 other guys out there that have a legit shot unless something a little crazy happens under that 500-mile race.
What about, you talked about him earlier, for the championship, Joey Logano plus 120, Kyle Busch minus 140. I've talked about fading Kyle Busch all season. Do I still fade Kyle Busch right now? Do I?
Well, I'll tell you, I really love Joey Logano on that line, that plus 120.
But I like Kyle Busch this week. I'm not on the don't line right now on Kyle Busch. Like, normally I would have looked at that last bunch of weeks.
I thought you were going to wait for him to, win something, take him off the don't line.
Yeah, but I just I guess I am contradicting myself.
You're playing a hunch. But, hey, isn't that part of what putting a bet is? Sometimes it's playing a hunch. Sometimes it's playing the numbers. Sometimes you got to crunch the two of them together.
Now, there's one that's moved already. Alex Bowman, which was the favorite, has moved into no, he stayed the same, but that line has moved. Alex Bowman's plus 110 to Eric Almirola's minus 130. Eric Almirola earlier in the season, that tear he was on, I'd say that. Alex Bowman.
Well, Almirola and Alex Bowman both have failed the "What have you done for me lately" test to me.
So that to me is going to be a fun one to watch. There's the head-to-heads. There's the top threes. When we come back, our picks, an amazing read on Gaughan Racin.
Welcome back to our weekly NASCAR show, live from the Sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racin.
Fellas, are you prepared to unveil your summer bod? Manscaped is here to ensure your post-quarantine body is ready for the wild. Don't be the guy at the beach with a bear rug on your chest. What's wrong with the bear rug? Huh? Manscaped is dedicated to helping you level up your full-body grooming game. They have forever changed the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0. The Perfect Package 3.0 kit comes with the Essential Lawnmower 3.0, waterproof cordless body trimmer, and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine. This is the best trimmer on the market for those of you in need of a chest shave. This third-generation trimmer features skin-safe technology to reduce manscaping accidents. Nobody likes those. Subscribe to the Perfect Package and get a new blade refill for your lawnmower trimmer delivered to your door every 3 months. For a limited time, subscribers get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag, $39 value add, and the patented high-performance reduced chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code VSIN20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code VSIN20. I am not Brent Musburger doing that, but I'm telling you, I'm a poster child for Manscaped. I mean, just saying, Motley, I'm
just concerned about the looks you were giving me as you were reading that.
I am so happy I got to do a Manscaped read on Gaughan Racing. I got to do one for Brent on My Guys in the Desert one time, and it was like the highlight of my life.
If Brendan takes the final checkered flag tomorrow, he will feel like he has fulfilled his life at this point.
Man, dude, come on. Me doing a Manscaped? Look at me. I am the poster child for Manscaped.
I have to admit, I'm kind of excited you were the host this week.
If you were the host, I don't care. I would have read that. That was my read.
You know, it'd be funny. We just traded off lines. Sorry. Thank you, Manscaped, for supporting the show. We do appreciate it. We're really not making fun of it because it's very valuable.
I need it.
Yes,
absolutely. My wife might be calling.
It's pretty obvious they haven't sent you a free sample.
Listen, they don't send this free. They look at this and go, "Oh dear God, I hope we can make it work."
Yeah, you actually need a Toro sponsorship.
Okay, Gaughan Racing, Brendan Gaughan, Jeff Motley. Moody calls me the Harryback Knuckle Dragger. Apparently that's it. South Point Casino. We're going into the group matchups. We've lost control. We're professionals. Trust us. We're going right to the Group A matchups. We have, go figure once again, a tie as co-favorites. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin in Group A at plus 195. Martin Truex Jr. at 325. And how about this number, Jeff Motley? The biggest number we have ever seen in the group matchups at the Westgate. Plus 475 on Kyle Busch in Group A.
Pretty remarkable. I mean, so they're saying it's going to be way harder for him to beat these three guys than it is for him to finish in the top three.
Well, they've got it that it is more of a challenge to beat them than top three, and they almost have he's half the odds just to beat those guys than to win a race.
Well, you know what? What the heck is the way I look at it. That's kind of the way I'm going to look at that one.
I'm not foreshadowing anything. I know I've been on the don't line for a while, but
I don't think it would be that bad to pick both Truex and Kyle Busch there, because there's a really good chance. There's a good chance. You know, I mean, look, Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin are not bulletproof. I mean, they've seen bulletproof, but we've seen anything happen. I mean, Kevin Harvick broke the track bar, the sway bar at Dover, ended up not having a top 10 on the first day of the doubleheader there. I mean, Denny's had issues.
Happen.
Denny this year seemed to overcome the pit issues that he had.
That he's normally done in the past.
Yeah.
All right, Group B, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, co-favorites, plus 230. Joey Logano, 300, and Eric Almirola, 330. Right there, the first thing that sticks out to me is we talked about at the start of the show, Chase Elliott was a threat to win that race when the accident happened.
Yeah, I would have put Chase Elliott in Group A and Kyle Busch in Group B had I been.
How they've been running right now, absolutely. Yeah. But I like that the odds makers did it this way, because that gives Chase Elliott. It'd be hard sell to get me off of Chase Elliott in Group B.
Yep, I'm with you.
Group C. Alex Bowman plus 265 with Ryan Blaney and Kurt Busch all there as co-favorites. Eric Jones plus 275. Ryan Blaney's the wild card there. You've talked about Blaney. Blaney is one of those guys that he's the opener, as you've liked to call him. He does well. But that Eric Jones, I've talked about him. I haven't talked about Ryan Blaney.
Eric Jones being the long shot in this deal, plus 275. I mean, that's fair. I'm not getting the vibe of how you can put Alex Bowman and Kurt Busch right now on the same level with Ryan Blaney based on.
Let me give you Ryan Blaney's 7 races he's had there. 30th, 13th, 31st, 15th, 13th, 16th, 21st.
So he's never finished above 15th.
Never led a lap, no stage points. Average finish at 19.
Let's see. Kevin Harvick hadn't won at Pocono. Denny Hamlin hadn't won at Dover. Do I sense a theme here?
Okay, but that's Kevin and Denny we're talking about. This is a guy that if you're telling me he's a favorite over Eric Jones, who's got 5 start, this to me, the Westgate has. If you're looking for the mismatched number, Eric Jones is it right there.
I'm all in on Blaney.
I think I might have to change one of my picks just to go head-to-head against you.
Bring it on, big boy.
All right, Group D, we've got Clint Boyer at 260, William Byron 260, Tyler Reddick 275, and Matt DiBenedetto 275. That is a extremely, to me, difficult group to pick.
I could make a case
for every single one of
all
them.
4 of them. I think that group comes down between Byron and Matty D, though. I really do.
I agree, but Clint Boyer to me is one of those guys where every time you count Clint Boyer out,
there he comes.
Every time you start saying Clint Boyer, we haven't talked about Clint Boyer shows up and gets to go, suck it, Trebek. You know, I mean, he is Clint Boyer. There's something about him when his back's against the wall that he's a scrapper.
No, I agree with you, and I think Clint's a guy who will come out clawing and fighting. And again, there's a guy racing for his job too. Yep. He could only have 10 races left for Stewart-Haas, depending on what happens. So.
Let's go into Group E, and we got, how the mighty have fallen. Jimmy Johnson is the favorite in Group E at plus 200. Christopher Bell, 265. Austin Dillon, 315. And Cole Custer, 315.
So we got 2 playoff drivers that are the long shots in Group E.
and Jimmy Johnson, who ran so well, is the favorite down there in Group E. I got to say, I like Jimmy Johnson at plus 200.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's probably the favorite for that group. I can't argue that.
They should have put him into for how well he ran. He could have been a Group D matchup.
Yeah,
and
I might have flip-flopped he and Reddick, and that way I would have just had 3 of the 4 rookies in there, even though the Rookie of the Year is Cole Custer. I know you don't like the rule on that. But
I can't stand the rule on that. So. I think that's absolutely horrible. I'm not knocking Cole. I don't like the rule.
Right, and maybe you should change the rule, because I kind of agree. You know, he's actually behind the other 2 guys in points right now.
Yeah.
But he won a
race.
He'd be in behind if you took just the real points. But when you add in the playoff points and the way they reset them, makes him the Rookie of the Year.
All right, Group F is our Ron Flatter, Chris Boucher group, and Chris is back in it this week. Ryan Newman plus 235, Matt Kenseth 255, Chris Boucher 275, and Bubba Wallace 315. I want to look at Bubba Wallace.
As long as you're not looking up Matt Kenseth's stats at Darlington.
I'm not looking. I've already looked them up for you. They're great, but you don't believe it. 16th in the last race.
I believe the stats.
21st and 16th when we came back from COVID. You know, I kind of like that Bubba Wallace. I mean, Newman, once again, the old sneaky assassin, 4 top 10s in the last 10 races.
Newman's a guy and look, he's
15th
not
and 14th
he's not going to
this year.
abuse his equipment. He's been around a long time. He's a smart racer. I mean,
That's
knows
a tough
what he's
one.
doing. That is a tough one. I won't be picking anybody out of Group
Bubba
F.
has been so good at surprising us this year, and off the track, all the stuff.
Yeah.
He's definitely not the same Bubba Wallace that from the past. So that plus 315, I definitely don't think he should be the dog. But that's a tough one right there.
That's a tough one to pick there. I would probably say if that is a toss-up, I'd take Bubba just because he's the best odds.
All right, we've gotten through all our groups. We've gotten through all of our head-to-heads, the whole 9 yards. Time for us to make our picks, where I, once again, will start off with my disclaimer, not as violent as it was last weekend when I betted myself to win, but once again, entertainment purposes only for me, Mr. Motley. Last week, I almost was the big winner.
If you'd managed to hold on to third spot for another 1,000 feet,
I was almost top 3, which would have been a big win for me.
You lost 5 spots in 1,000 feet. How'd you do that?
Martin Truex drafted the heck out of it. He side drafted me, parachuted me. So I was minus 5 points. Mr. Motley, you were also minus 5 points. And amazing, Karina, who did not pick last weekend, gave the picks to the pit crew and producer Ann. Why did producer Ann get 2 broken legs last year?
Because she beat us.
And what did she do this week?
She beat us. See, I thought Karina picked these, and that's why Karina wasn't here this week, because I figured, well, she beat us, then we don't let her come back. But then I find out that Ann and Isaiah apparently Isaiah, I don't know if he's our former producer, our future producer, our sometimes producer. I'm not exactly sure. But Isaiah is the one, I believe, that picked William Byron to get the top 5.
Listen, I don't know who it was that picked which, but I know that Ann and Isaiah combined to it, and they're the two that have been in the hospital when they start beating us. So I'm not sure they've taken the lesson yet.
No.
I'm just saying. They need to learn.
Yep. Okay. But guess what? Because you were behind me last week, you get to go first.
All right, I'll get to go first. So I was going to do the flip a coin and do both Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick to win. But I've scratched that idea because I want to go head-to-head with you. As long as you promise me you're picking a Group C pick.
I am picking a Group C pick, yes.
Then I'm going to go head-to-head with you. I'm flipping a coin on Denny and Kevin, and I'm going Kevin Harvick this week, plus 300. I'm going Eric Jones in the top 5 at plus 500. I'm going Jimmy Johnson in the top 3, at plus 650. Then I'm going off the don't line on Kyle Busch. I'm plus 475 in the group matchups for Kyle. And I'm going to jump on board Eric Jones to win Group C plus 275.
All right, I know we're running a little bit short on time today. I'm going Kevin Harvick to win just like you at plus 300. I agree with that one. I'm going Chase Elliott plus 275 for a top 3. I'm also going to go the flyer on Kyle Busch on Group A at plus 475. So we got 2 alike there. Group B, I'm going Chase Elliott plus 230. And in Group C, I am going against you. I'm going Ryan Blaney. I'm sticking with him plus 265. And real quick, the pit crew picks for this week, they're going Kurt Busch to win, 25-1. We see a theme there. Kyle Busch plus 300 for a top 3. They also like the Kyle Busch in Group A at plus 475. They're going Joey Logano at plus 300 in Group B and keeping it in the Busch family in Group C. Kurt Busch at plus 265.
We're all 3 against each other in Group
How about
C.
that? 3 different picks.
We got a heck of a Group C battle going on right there. Well, Mr. Motley, thank you, sir. Manscaped, thank you.
Well, thank you, yeah.
VSiN.
Darlington this week, and then we're going to go to Richmond after that, right?
To the crew at VSiN, thank you for setting us up out here. I know it wasn't easy, but I don't think it worked out too bad. We will see you next week when we break down Darlington and the Cookout Southern 500.
This is Gaughan Racin, the weekly NASCAR show that gets you ready for this week's big race and more. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204. Watch us online at vsin.com and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.